The new cleaning lady amazes the blind twins of the millionaire with a magical act. Alex Johnson's sprawling mansion sat silent under the gray sky, walls glistening too bright, rooms too cold. Every corner breathed the sterile chill of wealth that couldn't buy warmth. Inside, the air was heavy, thick with something Alex couldn't shake, the sound of his twin boys, Sam and Ryan, crying into the dark. Their wails clawed at his chest, sharp and endless. Born completely blind, they lived in a world shut tight, locked away from any flicker of light. Countless doctors, endless treatments, each promise came and crumbled, leaving Alex numb and desperate. Then came Michelle Carter, just a cleaning lady, or so it seemed, the kind of woman who looked ordinary walking through the marble floors, but carried something strange in her eyes, an odd shimmer, like she saw what others missed. From the moment Michelle stepped inside, the house seemed to hold its breath. She didn't just dust or tid. The twins stiffened beneath her touch, their tiny hands twitching as if sensing something more than cold surfaces and shadows. Then, something impossible happened. Michelle sat with the boys, humming softly. Her voice wasn't just heard, it wrapped around the silence, gentle but sure. Sam and Ryan's restless motions slowed. Their fingers hovered, trembling toward a vague light only Michelle seemed to reach. A pulse, a shimmer. The boys' faces barely changed, but their bodies responded, as if a hidden world stirred behind the darkness. Alex watched, heart pounding, breath caught in his throat. This was no simple cleaning trick. Michelle's finger traced invisible patterns in the air, and suddenly the twins reached out, not blindly, but with fierce curiosity, grasping the shimmer like scared fireflies. The house echoed with a hopeful hush, broken only by the boys' soft gasps. Had Michelle just cracked a secret the doctors missed? Did the twins hold some fragment of sight, hidden be? As Alex stared, trembling hands clenched into fists, the walls suddenly felt less like a prison. But outside, the air was thick with danger. The whispers had already started. Medical men with cold eyes watching too closely, interests too deep to trust. Could they really believe Michelle? Would they let this secret breathe, or crush it beneath silence and suits? One late night, Michelle confided in Alex, voice low and fierce. "There's something they don't want us to find out. Something bigger than blindness, and it's pulling us into a fight, Alex, a fight no one's ready for." His world tilted. The cold mansion suddenly felt alive with shadows darker than the night. What secrets lay buried beneath the gleaming floors and clinical smiles? Who stood behind the door, waiting to shut it forever? And as the boys reached out again, trembling and burning, Alex knew the question chilling the room was this: can they trust the system they are fighting against, or will it betray them in tea? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. As Alex stood there, heart racing, the weight of Michelle's words pressed down like an anchor. He knew the stakes were high. This was a fight, one he had never asked for but felt drawn into. But the battle lines became jagged as a shriek shattered the fragile silence. It cut through the air like a knife, clamoring for attention. Alex spun toward the twins, whose cries had turned into something else altogether, a mix of fear and elation. The sound felt electric, alive. Michelle's hands flew back, instinctively shielding herself. as if the air itself had become dangerous. "Boys!" Alex rushed forward, but before he could reach them, a flash of light erupted from above, illuminating the dim room in a blinding glow. It flickered, brightening the dark corners, and for a moment, everything seemed possible. Then came the tremors, deep and rumbling, a resonance that shook the very floor beneath them. The mansion groaned like a living creature awakening in agony. The twins grew frantic, their small hands reaching upward, desperate for connection, feeling the vibrations through the air. Alex tried to grab them, but the ground shifted again, throwing him off balance. "Stay still!" Michelle shouted, eyes wide, panic pooling in their depths. But each pulse of light that flickered out of nowhere revealed something. They twisted and morphed, and before Alex could process what was happening, they converged into a single shape. A figure draped in darkness stood at the doorway, a grin slicing across its face. "Long time no see, Alex," the figure purred, voice smooth like oil. The familiar tone stopped Alex cold. It belonged to someone he hadn't seen in years, his estranged brother, Dylan. The rift between them had torn the family apart. They were a world away from each other, yet here he was, this ghost from Alex's past. "What are you doing here?" Alex's voice trembled. "I've come to help," Dylan began, but the words felt heavy with something more. In the shadows, Sam and Ryan's cries turned into hollow echoes as they clung together, eyes wide and unseeing, feeling the invisible war unfolding around them. And then, as if in response to their fear, the glow intensified, revealing the terrible truth lurking behind Dylan's smile. He wasn't just a brother. He was part of something much darker. It struck like thunder. The revelation hit Alex like a freight train. Questions collided in his mind. Was Dylan part of the system they feared? An enemy disguised as family? What did he know that Alex didn't? Michelle backed away slowly, her eyes darting between the twins and Dylan, unsure of which side she found herself on. "Don't listen to him," she yelled, but the echo slipped through confusion, swallowed by the rising tension in the room. "What do you mean powerful?" Alex pressed, voice shaking with disbelief. Dylan's grin widened, darker than anything Alex had ever seen. "Let's just say the twins have a gift that the world would pay dearly for. And I'm here to make sure it stays with us." Dread surged through Alex. He thought he might choke. Did Dylan know what was truly at stake? The dangerous potential buried deep within the boys. The revelation crashed down like a wave. His brother's intentions swirled with secrets that could reshape everything. As the light began to flicker and fade, the shadows shifted again, creeping closer, swallowing the room into a suffocating darkness. Could Alex trust those he loved? Or was the fight for light ushering in a storm he couldn't outrun? As the tension thickened and hearts raced, one question loomed larger than the rest. What price would they have to pay to uncover the truth behind the twins' hidden power? As the pulsating glow began to fade, its energy crackling like static in the air, the room fell into an eerie silence. Alex's heart raced, thundering louder than the tremors rattling the mansion's foundation. He looked at Dylan. The grin still etched on his face, but now it seemed to fray at the edges. Shadows danced. But before Dylan could respond, another flash erupted. This time it wasn't just light. It was a force, a wave of energy that sent them all stumbling back. The walls creaked, the floorboards groaned, and with an explosive crack, a glowing fissure tore through the air, cascading colors like a fireworks show gone wrong. "Get the boys!" Michelle screamed, darting towards Sam and Ryan, who remained transfixed by the light. "Boys, listen to me!" Alex shouted. The twins blinked rapidly, oblivious to everything but the enchantment before them. And then came the voices. They whispered at first, but soon erupted into a cacophony, echoing off the walls. Alex clenched his jaw, heart pounding in time with the noise. "Stop!" "No!" Dylan laughed, eyes glittering with a wild energy. "This is just the beginning, brother. They are the key. Their gift is stronger than you can imagine." In that moment, everything shifted. The light expanded, revealing not just memories, but truths. Alex saw faces he had long buried beneath layers of hurt. His parents, alive and full of joy, playing with the twins. A comforting warmth engulfed him, but it quickly turned cold as he recognized the flashes. An accident, betrayal, lies concealed under a facade of love. Suddenly, a blinding light pulsed, and with it a voice thundered through the chaos, unmistakably familiar. "Alex!" He froze, heart in his throat. It was his mother's voice. But it sounded different, distorted. "You must choose!" "Choose what?" Alex cried, desperation creeping through him. "Trust your blood or run away." Dylan's voice echoed over the noise, but it shifted strangely, turning high-pitched, almost mocking. It wasn't his brother anymore. It was something more. Then, as if responding to the weight of Alex's confusion, a force slammed into him, knocking the breath from his lungs. The fragments of light shattered, pouring a dark liquid across the floor. Alex's pulse raced as he stared at it, horrified. It wasn't just light. It was darkness, a tangible thing swirling like smoke. "What is this?" Alex whispered. "You're already trapped, Alex," Dylan taunted, smile fading into something sinister. "They're not blind by chance. They were chosen." In horror, he felt the truth hit him, a sickening twist in his gut. This wasn't about saving his boys. It was about control. "No," Alex roared, shaking as the shadows crawled closer. The twins were still reaching, their innocence still intact. But were they really innocent? What if they were the key to something darker, something that could bring devastation? He turned back to Dylan, rage igniting fury in his bones. "What have you done?" But before Dylan could reply, a gust swept through the room, carrying an unearthly echo. The light erupted anew in a dazzling display, blinding Alex momentarily. When his vision cleared, he saw Dylan was gone, vanished like smoke. All that remained was the suffocating darkness, inching closer, and the twins, who suddenly turned their heads, meeting Alex's gaze. A realization settled in, ice cold and steeped in dread. Was it too late? Had the curse of power already taken root in his sons? Would they be saviors or destroyers? The weight of trust, now laced with suspicion, hung painfully heavy in the air. So many questions, and only darkness to answer them. As Alex took a step forward, the weight of his choices loomed, ripe with uncertainty. A sudden flash ignited in the corner of his eye, and the echoing question hung in the air. What if the fight for light was only the beginning of a darker war? As Alex took a shaky step forward, the room felt saturated with tension. The shadows continued their creep, a thick layer of darkness, urging him to turn away. The twins stood still, wide-eyed, their small bodies seemingly anchored in place. With each flicker, the swirling glow around them illuminated fear in Alex's heart. Then came a sound, a low humming, a vibration that started beneath the floor. It rippled through the walls, washing over everything like a wave, and his stomach dropped. This wasn't just a phenomenon. It was a calling. The twins turned towards it, their tiny mouths parting slightly, as if tasting something sweet lingering in the air. "Boys, we need to move." He reached toward them, but their fingers twitched, drawn to the light that continued to pulse and weave shapes in the dark. The noises grew louder, surrounding them. Alex looked back at Michelle, her face twisted with worry. "What's happening?" she breathed, eyes darting between the twins and the darkening space. Suddenly, the house groaned again. The lights exploded into brilliant shards. Alex shielded his eyes, heart racing. The shadows morphed again, turning from mere shape into something more tangible. And that's when he felt it, the pulse of the building, a heartbeat. "Alex," a voice echoed, unbearable familiarity seeping through the chaos. His mother. But this wasn't her voice from the memories flickering like ghosts. This was her voice, urgent and breaking. "Alex, you must find the truth." "Mom!" he gasped. The noise stopped abruptly, and then silence. The room fell still, a blanket over their racing hearts. "Now!" she shouted, voice rising. It was sharp, slicing through the air. Then came a rush, a flash, and the shadows gave way to a vision. The twins stood unyielding, but in that core of light, the true nightmare unfolded. Images flooded before Alex's eyes, twisting fragments of once-lost memories. He saw his mother, yes, but not just that. He saw his father, too, standing over an altar of darkness, chanting, wrapping the twins in a web of strange symbols. The realization hit hard, squeezing the breath from his chest. "No! No!" Alex yelled, backing away. But there was no escape. The knowledge washed over him. It was all a lie. "Alex, listen to me." Michelle's voice trembled. "You have to fight this. They're more than what they seem." No. But the shadows had eyes. They watched, devouring his defenses. Love turned into horror as the truth unfurled itself upon him. "Dylan betrayed you," Michelle pressed, urgency coloring her voice. "He's not here for the boys. He wants to harness them, to use their power." Just as she said that, the twins jerked. It wasn't just reaching anymore. They were summoning something from deep within, pulling ancient forces to them. The space around them felt as if it were stretching thin, fabric of reality screeching against the weight of the moment. A light ripped through the darkness, an unbearable white that consumed everything. The glow was blinding, and as the shadows receded, Alex saw the twins glowing. Their hands weren't just reaching. They were weaving energy, channeling it into a network above them. And then it snapped. In the blink of an eye, the world shifted. And before Alex could comprehend the change, a figure emerged from the light. It wasn't Dylan. It wasn't even his mother. No, it was Alex himself, older, wearied, eyes haunted by visions of the future. "Stop! You can't do this!" Alex instinctively dropped to his knees. "What are you?" "That's right," the figure rasped, voice chillingly familiar. "I am you. You chose the shadows, chose your fear over the light." His heart raced with confusion, throat tightening. "No, this can't be real." "Isn't it?" The figure stepped closer, eyes blazing. "You're the one who awakens this power. But the truth is, you're the key to their nightmares." Shock slammed into Alex, leaving him reeling. Had he been the catalyst for everything? All the fights, the struggles? What if he had willingly set them on this path? The twins gasped, pulling back as they felt the weight of their father's existence trembling on the precipice of darkness. Hope buried under chains of fate. The tension thickened, making it hard to breathe. And in that harrowing moment, Alex realized, could they escape the very outcome he had created? Was he destined to watch them spiral into the fate he'd tried so hard to fight against? "What will you do?" the figure taunted, shifting into the shadows. The echoes of that question ignited Alex's fear. Maybe he had unleashed something worse than he'd known. How would he bend destiny to rewrite the future? As the connection between past and present tightened, he felt the rush of impending doom. The darkness crept closer. The twins' glow pulsed with uncertainty, leaving only one thought resonating through Alex's mind. Is this battle truly over, or had it only just begun? As the shimmering light faded, Alex felt a shiver crawl down his spine. The older version of himself stood before him, a haunting mirror of despair and confusion. Each flicker of the glow framed the figure in a silvery haze, but the deeper Alex looked, the more he recognized the horror simmering in those familiar eyes. "What do you want?" Alex's voice trembled. Fighting against the weight pressing on his chest, the figure replied, fingers thrumming with energy. "You're caught in a web of your own making. You've already chosen, Alex. And now the boys." The twins gasped, suddenly breaking the spell that held them. Their small bodies quaked as they felt the surging energy that surrounded them. It was chaos wrapped in dread, the air thick and heavy. "No!" Alex yelled, rushing toward them. "Get away! Stay back!" But it was too late. The vision of his older self flickered, the light bending like a wave, crashing against the shore, each pulse illuminating the twisted darkness that loomed. The shadows writhed, hands reaching, and Alex tried to shield the twins. But the strain of the moment was unbearable. And just as the darkness surged forward, with a force that felt alive, the room exploded in a cacophony of sound. Cries of desperation, echoes of laughter, whispers of betrayal, they all coiled together, pouring from the fissures in the fabric of reality. "Mom?" Sam's voice trembled, reaching out in innocence. "Boys, no!" But the light erupted once more, blinding and chaotic. Alex shielded his eyes, fear coursing through him. He felt himself dragged into a whirlpool of memories. The space around him swirling. Then everything shifted. Alex fell to his knees as a scream wrenched free from his throat. The ground trembled violently as the very essence of the house quaked, and the figure of his older self shifted, fading into wisps of shadow. "You're not ready, Alex. You must confront the truth or lose everything." The shadows leaped forward, dark tendrils lunging for the twins, and in that moment, something inside Alex snapped. The connection was too strong, the emotions too chaotic. "No, I won't let this happen." His voice rang out with a fierceness that surprised him. With a push, the essence of the house surged, and all at once, the shadows recoiled as if struck. A blinding flash erupted, and the air hummed. A call, a surge of energy that no one expected. Muddy colors twisted in spirals, then exploded outward, revealing something darker still. And then, silence. When Alex opened his eyes, the twins were gone. The world around him rippled. Everything felt distant, surreal as the air crackled with change. He turned slowly, confusion lacing his thoughts like a heavy fog. "Where are they?" Michelle's voice trembled, pulling him back. "Alex!" But as he searched desperately, the room began to fold in on itself. A haunting echo curled around him, and from the dark, a figure emerged. It was Dylan, but not how he saw him before. This one glowed, lights dancing around his form, and in his arms were the twins, eyes closed, faces serene, like they were asleep. "What have you done?" Alex shouted, panic rising in his chest. "I freed them from the spell," Dylan replied, an unsettling calm in his voice. "They've awakened, Alex. You only saw their blindness because you were blind." The ground quaked again, and the shadows surged forward, threatening to swallow them whole. "No, you don't understand." But Alex's words were swallowed, drowning in the fierce glow flashing from Dylan's figure. The truth twisted within him. Was this real? Had he just lost everything? Then, all at once, a new voice broke through like thunder. "You need to make a choice, Alex." It was his mother again, her presence filling the air with warmth and strength. "Will you save your boys? Will you choose to embrace the truth?" The weight of her words hit like a tidal wave, crashing over Alex, drowning him in confusion, while igniting a spark of hope. But what truth? What price? Tension thickened the air closer to breaking point. Would he step into the light, or let the darkness consume them all? As the light danced dangerously against the shadows, Alex's heart hammered wildly, uncertainty swirling in his gut. What if his choice didn't just save his boys, but changed everything he thought he knew? Did he really want to know the cost? As the tension thickened, Alex clenched his fists, his mind racing. The faces of his sons were now vacant, lost in an ethereal trance, their innocent expressions veiling an unknown danger. The presence of the older version of himself loomed over him, a reminder of paths not taken and choices made. "Choose, Alex," his mother's voice thundered from the light. "Save them or succumb to the shadows." The shadows around them twisted and swirled, the whispers growing louder, more insistent. Panic gripped his heart. What was he supposed to do? He could feel the darkness creeping, pulling at the edges of his consciousness. He took a deep breath, shaking off the confusion. "I won't let them take you." With that, he stepped forward, preparing to confront whatever darkness lay ahead. The glow radiating from the twins flickered, their tiny bodies trembling as if sensing the weight of their father's determination. But just then, a jarring crack echoed through the space. The floor beneath them shuddered, and a fissure opened wide, a dark chasm that seemed to gnarl and twist like a living creature. It swallowed light and hope as it grew. "Run!" Michelle shouted, pulling at Alex's arm. He didn't want to leave his boys, but the house was on the brink of collapse. "No, we can't," he yelled back, but his words were lost as the air grew dense with electricity. The shadows pulsed, wrapping around his ankles, dragging at him with icy fingers. Then, out of the void, a shape emerged, distorted and shrouded in shivering darkness. It moved like smoke, shifting and curling, and as it got closer, Alex's heart dropped. It was an exact replica of Dylan. No, not Dylan. Something far worse. This was the embodiment of the shadows, designed to resemble the very foe he feared. "Foolish brother," it hissed, voice dripping with malice. "Did you think you can stop what is meant to be?" "Stop! Get away from my family!" Alex shouted, adrenaline surging through his veins. But the shadows surrounded him, cold and suffocating. The figure extended a hand, and suddenly a vision exploded through Alex's mind. Images of betrayal and darkness. The twins, no longer innocent little boys lost in their blindness, but conduits of immeasurable power. "They are special, Alex," the figure sneered, darkness swirling. "Their gifts have always been within them. You just chose not to see, but now they are mine." Within the flickering light, Alex witnessed it all, the rituals, the sacrifices. The whisperings of a secret kept to bind them all. The realization rushed through him like ice water. They weren't just blind, they were coerced into hiding a darkness that had been waiting to break free. "Mom!" he screamed, desperation clawing at him. But before he could grasp a shred of hope, the shadows surged forward, engulfing everything. And then it happened. An explosion of blinding light erupted from the twins. The force knocked Alex to the ground. He shielded his eyes and felt the heat of the energy wash over him. He dared to look again. The twins weren't just glowing, they were transforming. "Stop this!" he yelled, panicked. "Boys!" But their small faces glowed with newfound clarity, eyes opening to reveal something unfathomable. They weren't just seeing light, they were becoming it. With the chaos spiraling around, the darkness hissed, suddenly vulnerable. "No!" the shadowy figure screamed, shattering the silence with pure fury as the boys unleashed their hidden power. In an instant, everything twisted. The room pulsed with an overwhelming force, ripping apart the very fabric of reality. Shadows screamed, retreating into the darkness as the light consumed them. But just before the echo of silence fell again, Alex caught sight of a new image. His mother, bound in chains, trapped in a nightmare that extended beyond comprehension. Her eyes opened wide in horror, locking onto Alex's, pleading. And then the light exploded again, blinding him as the world fell apart. When Alex could finally breathe again, he found himself standing alone. No twins. No haunting mirror of himself. Only silence echoed around him. Had they been taken? The weight of loss wrapped around him like a vice. He knew then that the battle wasn't over. It had only just begun. With doubt settling like a storm cloud, he whispered into the void, a question that hung heavy in the air. Were his boys saviors or harbingers of their doom? Alex stood there, heart pounding like a drum. The emptiness of the room felt suffocating. No twins, just shadows swirling in the silent chaos. "Boys!" he shouted, voice echoing back at him, hollow and despairing. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to flee the darkness that clung to the walls. "Where are you?" His voice cracked, desperation clawing at his throat. He couldn't lose them, not now. The thought of the twins trapped somewhere, lost and powerless, sent icy fingers of fear racing through him. Then, from the corner of his eye, a flicker of movement. The shadows recoiled for just a moment, parting as if something brilliant dared to shine through. "Boys?" He stepped forward, driven by an unseen force, breathless anticipation rising within him. Suddenly, there it was. An image shimmered into focus, a pulse of light taking shape. Sam and Ryan stood there, but they were different, surrounded by a golden hue that seemed to pulsate with their very essence. Was this a vision? Were they trapped in a dream? No, no! Panic surged, a fierce urgency driving him to approach. "Wake up, boys! Come to me!" But instead of their warm laughs or familiar faces, another figure stepped through the light, unmistakable yet deeply wrong. Dylan, radiant but ominous, grinned. "They're awakening, Alex. Did you really think you could hide them forever?" His voice dripped with a chilling ease, mocking the love Alex so fiercely protected. "What have you done to them?" Alex snarled, fists clenching. "You twisted this. They're just children." "They're more than that," Dylan chided gently, tilting his head as if discussing a mundane topic. "You're blind to their true potential. I've only set them free." A searing bolt shot through Alex's chest. The shadows around him shrieked in a cacophony of despair, rage cresting at his brothers. "Revelation! You'll never control them!" he shouted, stepping into the blinding light. And then everything fractured. The world shook around them. The light erupted, an unbearable force rippling outward. Alex felt it tearing through him as old memories twitched and warped. Scenes from childhood, memories of dreams, and deep-seated fears all swirled together. And he understood. He'd always feared losing them to this darkness, and yet it wasn't just Dylan, it was him. He had suppressed their brilliance for too long, blinded them to the truth. The horror of what he had done crashed down like thunder. "You!" he cried out, pointing at the figure. "You're part of this, aren't you? You've played us like pieces on a board." Dylan's grin widened, wickedly pleased. "You finally see. But don't you get it? You were never in control. It was always meant to be this way." And just like that, the glow shifted. Sam and Ryan's faces twisted, momentarily revealing the sorrow within, like brief cracks in a beautiful facade. It was as if they were trapped between two worlds, the innocent little boys he loved, and something far more formidable. "What's happening?" Alex shouted, trembling as the shadows twisted closer again, threatening to tear his family apart. "No, boys." But just when Alex thought despair was all that remained, a roar surged from the twins. Their powers erupted, filling the room, bursting the bonds keeping them restrained. The air crackled, and the entire house trembled. Then, in the eye of that storm, something extraordinary happened. The shadows lunged, twisting and writhing, and suddenly a portal tore through the very fabric of the room, a swirling maw of light and dark. And from it, a relentless scream burst forth, a sound so piercing that it shattered everything. It wasn't just a scream, it was a connection, a rip through time itself. "Alex," a voice echoed, unmistakably familiar, but aged and laced with sorrow. It was his mother. "You must choose to break the cycle." What cycle? The question hung heavy in the air as the shadows convulsed, and Alex felt reality blur. Memories flooded him, her anguish, things he had chosen to forget. And just then, as light clashed violently with shadow, he realized the truth. There was more to Dylan, more to his mother, more to the twins. Was the darkness simply feeding on their fear, or was it a legacy he had unknowingly inherited? Before he could grasp the full weight of it, the room imploded into blinding light. As the chaos roared and the screaming intensified, Alex blinked, and suddenly he was not alone. In that moment, he was surrounded not just by the twins, but by each and every person who had ever faced the darkness with him. Only then did he see it, a flicker of recognition on each face, his father twisted in shadow, history come full circle. The essence of what had once been lost hung shackled in the air. They were all here, or echoes of them at least. "Dylan, is it really you?" he breathed, confusion mingling with fear. "No, brother, it's what you always wanted." And just like that, the glimmer of hope was snuffed out as Alex faced the devastating realization. The safety of his boys was a mere illusion. They were never meant to escape. They were the key to a door that was only beginning to open. With the ground shaking, the shadows deepened, and Alex could only whisper softly into the void, "What have I done?" Alex stood frozen, the weight of realization crashing down like. The shadows danced hungrily, fingers clawing at the air as if they could sense his fear. He felt like he was drowning in uncertainty, while the light flickered tenuously around the boys, illuminating their faces that teetered between innocence and something far darker. "Mom!" he shouted again, desperation echoing in his throat. "What do I do?" Then, just as that suffocating silence enveloped him again, the light surged. The twins glowed brighter, their small figures silhouetted against a backdrop of swirling shadows. And in that moment, Alex saw something shift in Sam's expression. A flicker of awareness, a hint of understanding that startled Alex to his core. With a sudden jolt, the energy around the boys exploded. Their voices merged, creating a haunting chant, reverberating off the walls and sending a shiver through the shadows. The energy coalesced, a dazzling form taking shape in the center of the chaos. It was a figure, not just any figure, someone Alex had never expected. "Dad," he breathed, disbelief ricocheting through him. His late father. There he was, standing amidst the fray. Not a ghost, but alive, glowing with a warmth that cut through the darkness. "Alex," his father said softly, voice like honey and dread all at once, "you can't escape what you've created. You must take responsibility for the choices made." The words struck Alex like a physical blow, the memory swirling, rushing back to him. But this wasn't how he remembered his father. The kindness, the warmth, it felt wrapped in ice. But no, it can't be. "Choose wisely," his father said, glancing at the twins, whose expressions were shifting again, caught between joy and confusion. In that heartbeat, everything transformed. The air thickened, and an unbearable pressure tightened around them. Shadows hissed and twisted, desperately trying to reach forward. And then Alex's heart plunged as he realized his father had been part of their path all along, the hidden architect of the darkness they faced. No, Alex yelled, stumbling back, horror flooding through him. You can't be, but it was too late. A bright flash tore through the air, a blinding light that interrupted the confrontation. The force swept over them, wrapping Alex in an ethereal cocoon. The world shifted, and in the swirling glow, something shattered, the very essence of everything he thought he knew. Then the light collapsed into a vortex, sucking him in. Suddenly he heard voices, whispers piercing through the fog, twisted echoes of laughter, of secrets, of pain. Each syllable wrapped around him like a noose. You never wanted them to know, did you? The energies collided, and in the tumult, Alex felt the truth slam into him. What had been buried deep within, the secrets that chained them all, spun forth. A new image emerged, a memory tinted with anguish. A young Alex hidden in the shadows, hearing hushed tones between his parents about the twins. They weren't simply born blind. They had been part of a plan all along. A plan to manipulate their gifts for something larger than love. And then, the twist of truth sunk deep like a knife. His father had used the children, had sacrificed the family's sanity in the quest for power, a legacy passed down through generations. Alex, reeling in shock, could feel the air waver around him, his heart racing. Did his father truly believe he was protecting them? The shadows shifted again, noises crackling, exploding into dread. In that profound moment, everything Alex thought he understood splintered apart. The hard choices, the bitter sacrifices, were they just part of a cycle? Boys! Alex reached out, panic rising. You have to fight it. And in the midst of that urgency, the twins' glow flickered. The light quaked, threatening to dim under the weight of all the lies that had ever been told. If his father could hold such darkness, what did that mean for Sam and Ryan? The truth felt sharp, an emotional wound that would never heal. Where are you? He implored into the darkness, senses on fire. What are you hiding? But just as despair threatened to swallow him whole, silence fell. And from that silence, another voice emerged. Not his mother, not his father. A voice so familiar, it sent chills down his spine. True strength and authority emanating from it. Alex, you've misjudged me all along. A figure stepped out from the shadows, identical to Dylan, but filled with an aura much darker, a sinister smile creeping across its face. You've only scratched the surface of what this all means. And in that heartbeat, doubt tangled with a desperate clarity. He had no idea what to believe. The battle within him raged as he stood on the precipice, one question lingering with an ominous weight. What if the fight for light was the very path to darkness they had always walked? The shadows pulsed with anticipation, thickening the air around them. Alex could barely breathe as he faced the dark, distorted version of Dylan. The walls of the room twisted and shrieked, reverberating with chaos. But his focus remained on the figure who wore his brother's face. What do you mean, I'm not in control? Alex's voice shook, but defiance burned in his chest. He stepped forward, the light around the twins flickering with his determination. You've never known what it means to love them. You think this is about love, brother? You've built a prison for them, bound by your blindness, but they can soar. They don't need your protection. Don't you dare speak about them, Alex shouted, stepping protectively in front of the twins as their glow flickered. The very ground felt alive beneath him, trembling in response to their battle of wills. The ghostly figure of his father loomed behind him, whispering bitter truths wrapped in sweetness. The air vibrated, pressuring Alex to understand, but all it did was ignite his rage. You're wrong, he yelled. They're just children. They don't understand your darkness. Laughter erupted, a taunting sound that echoed through the room. You're right. They don't understand. Yet. The shadow shifted, coiling like smoke, and for a fleeting heartbeat, Alex saw the twins blink rapidly, their expressions shifting in confusion. "Please!" Sam's tiny voice broke through, trembling. "We want to go home." "Home?" Dylan's figure sneered, loomed closer, shadows thickening like a storm. "You don't even know where home is. This world is just a cage." The floor cracked beneath him. The air felt charged, every cell in Alex's body vibrating. "You think this is what power looks like?" But as he spoke, the light spiraled, a powerful surge erupting from the twins. It was beautiful and terrifying, a force that collided against the darkness, tearing at the fabric of their current reality. Alex's heart soared for a moment. Then came the blinding flash. What happened next sent him hurtling through chaos. It was like falling through time itself. He landed hard on the cold floor, a jarring impact that rattled his bones. The echoes of screams faded into silence. Shaking his head, Alex blinked, and slowly the world came back into focus. But everything had changed. He looked around and gasped. The mansion was gone. Instead, he stood in an old abandoned warehouse, rusting metal framing around him, cold air whistling through cracked windows. Where? Panic swept over him, heart pounding. He felt the presence of the twins, but their warmth was gone, replaced by a chilling emptiness that gripped his throat. "Boys?" he called out, voice trembling. And then a flash of movement caught his eye. Figures, blurry and dancing in the shadows, darting just beyond his reach. He followed desperately, each step echoing louder than the last, the cold air wrapping around him like a shroud. Just as he turned a corner, he collided with something solid. A force, an unimaginable weight that knocked him to the floor. He looked up to find the twins standing there, but they were different. Their eyes glowed unnaturally, shining with an intensity he had never seen. "Alex," Ryan spoke, voice layered with an eerie echo, as if it belonged to someone else. "We've seen it. We know the truth." "What truth?" His breath caught in his throat as he stared into their unnervingly bright eyes. "The darkness isn't the enemy," Sam said, stepping forward with a weight that felt too heavy for his tiny frame. "It's part of us now." "No, this can't be happening." Panic surged as an icy realization dawned. "You don't understand. It's you who doesn't understand," Ryan replied, voice shifting into a melody that was hauntingly familiar. "We were always meant to wield it. You just kept us blind." The words struck like a knife, and Alex stumbled back, shaking his head. "No, how can you say that? I would never want this for you." "But we don't want your protection anymore," Sam insisted, his small size belied by the deep resonance that accompanied his tone. "We're part of something bigger than just a family, bigger than just you." Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The pieces of a puzzle he had never wanted to see, the truth hidden behind blind eyes, the darkness cradled in their hearts. It was a betrayal that ran deeper than blood. "Stop this," he shouted, desperation flooding him. "You can't want this." But the twins stepped forward, and with them came an overwhelming wave of darkness, a connection they could not refuse. The air crackled, stretching thin as if reality itself was unraveling at their feet. "Join us, Alex," they chanted, voices merging beautifully, a siren call that felt both enchanting and deadly. "Together, we can unlock the true potential of our legacy." And just like that, Alex realized he was not just fighting for their freedom. He was fighting against their very nature. "What have I done?" But before he could grasp the full weight of his horror, the shadows erupted, folding around them in a storm of chaos. Everything spun out of control, and he was swept away, battling the current of an identity he didn't recognize. In the midst of that storm, Another whisper rose, slicing through the chaos. Alex, you were never just a protector. You were always part of the darkness. His chest tightened as creeping dread filled him. Was it true? Had he, too, succumbed to the very thing he feared? And as realization took hold, the light flickered once more, teasing the edges of hope and despair. Maybe the fight for light wasn't a fight at all, but an acceptance of a destiny steeped in shadow. Alex's world blurred and spun, caught in an electric storm of shadows and light. The twins' voices wrapped around him, filling the warehouse with an intensity he had never thought possible. "We are part of something bigger," Sam's voice echoed, sending shivers down Alex's spine. "We've always been." "No!" Alex shouted, heart pounding. "You don't know what you're saying!" He could feel the chill of despair creeping in, twisting around him like the shadows that lingered hungrily at the edges of the room. What were they becoming? Suddenly, the darkness surged, lunging forward with a life of its own. The fear in Alex's chest tightened, the parents' whispers of power twisting through his mind like a hollow promise. "Boys, fight it!" But as he reached out, they stepped closer, eyes glowing with an energy he could hardly comprehend. It was beautiful and terrifying. "Join us," Ryan said, the melding of their voices rising to a beautiful crescendo. In that moment, their innocence flickered, revealing the depth of something far more profound. "We can unleash the truth. It's freeing." Alex staggered backward, shaking his head violently. "No, you don't need this power. You're just children." But the twins didn't react. Instead, a flash of blinding light erupted again, throwing Alex against the wall. The force knocked the breath from his lungs, and his heart raced as the world twisted once more. He was back among the shadows. Ugh, the memories. The faces of his mother and father hovered just out of reach. "You must find the truth, Alex," she urged, her voice echoing like a plea through the walls of the warehouse. And with every heartbeat, Alex felt the pull of their legacy, the weight of generations pressing against his chest. What if they were meant to wield this power? What if he had been the blind one all along? The shadows writhed, and he felt anger surging. "You're wrong," he yelled, clenching his fists. "You don't have to surrender to it." "Then what will you do?" Dylan's shadowy figure materialized, grinning wider than ever. "Will you fight against your blood? Against their true nature?" "No." Alex felt the heat of the words burning through him. "I will fight to protect them from this." A sudden roar erupted, and all at once, light blazed from the twins. It flooded the room, washing over everything like a tidal wave. The shadows screamed, recoiling as the twins shone brighter, their connection amplifying into something indescribable. "Alex!" Sam cried, voice cracking with pain, but filled with strength. "Help us!" "Boys, I'm here!" In that moment, their power united, merging into a force that connected them all. Reality shifted and twisted around them as Alex stepped forward, drawing the light in. The room resonated with the pulse of their combined strength, and for the first time, Alex understood. The shadows were not merely an enemy. They were part of the journey, part of who they could become. Together, we can control this. The darkness swirled, but it was starting to fray at the edges. The weight of their legacy became lighter as they began to reshape it. With a deep breath, Alex summoned everything he had, the love, the fears, the pain, and focused it all on the twins. "Let it go," he shouted, pushing everything outward. The light exploded in colors he didn't know existed, breaking the chains that had bound them to the darkness. Sam and Ryan gasped as if awakening from a long sleep. In that moment, clarity washed over him. They were more than just blind twins. They were capable of shaping their own destinies, together. And then, in a barrage of shimmering light, the shadows fell away, dissolving like mist in the sun. The room brightened and opened up, revealing a new dawn, a fresh start. Breathless, Alex collapsed into the light, knowing they had triumphed over the darkness. The shadows had lost their hold. As he looked at Sam and Ryan, their faces glowed with hope. "We'll find our way. Together," he promised, heart swelling with a fierce love that could withstand anything. Yet, as the last remnants of shadows vanished, uncertainty flickered at the edge of his thoughts. What would the future hold? The thought lingered like smoke in the air, tantalizing and uncertain. And there they stood, family united once more, hearts intertwined. Yet the echo of shadows went deeper, whispering promises of secrets yet to be discovered. Now, before you leave to ponder the meaning behind all this, you must subscribe immediately. Don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that are coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear your thoughts. Remember, it's time to show your support. Share this with at least 5 friends who need to know this ending. Don't wait one more second to get them involved. This is the moment to keep this community alive. Only true fans like you understand the importance of acting now.